Welcome to Two Bees in a Pod. I am Bilola.
And I am B. Leonga, and this is a podcast about immigrant experiences in the U.S., sharing our perspectives on various topics,
Including straddling cultures, fitting in, staying connected, learning and unlearning the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Welcome back to Two Bees in a Pod. We're in a slightly better mood this week. Just momentarily, though. It's temporary.
Until January.
Listen, until you just remember. You listen. The past week, 10 days, you'll just be sitting and you're happy, and then you just remember.
My TikTok algorithm has changed and I need to change it back. I might have watched like one of those FAFO videos, and now that's all I'm seeing, and it doesn't even make me happy. They're funny, but it's still sad. I know that you don't like WhatsApp statuses. I've muted a lot of WhatsApp statuses just because people, although I did see one today where somebody was celebrating RFK being held and human service, and I'm just like, this school that all of us went to, it didn't go through all of us, because a few years ago they were celebrating eradicating polio in Africa. We are going to start having polio in America, measles,
Smallpox.
Yes.
Anyway, let's not go off track right from the start. Our episode today is about black tax. So we'll be talking about that. We'll talk about what it is for those who don't know. But our icebreaker is, what were some surprising or unexpected adulthood expenses?
Everything.
Just life.
Yes.
I don't know. I sat one day and I swear I was not on any substance or nothing. I was completely sober. I just sat one day. I'm like, but why do I have to pay? I literally have to pay to be alive. I'm like, that doesn't make sense.
Mhm.
I didn't ask to be here.
Listen.
What? Like, the thing I was just sitting there. It's one of those moments where you just go down a hole of existential dread. You're like, but what's the reason?
Let me tell you one that every now and again does not make sense to me. Like raising kids in America. In Cameroon, you make friends in the neighborhood, you guys play kick the ball outside. In America, we pay for children to hang out.
That's
take your
true.
kids to the trampoline place, Chuck E. Cheese. You pay for kids to hang out. And it's just like,
American
what
kids
manner-
are expensive. I don't know how y'all are doing it. Only their activities, gymnastics, taekwondo, ballet, all of this music, all of these other activities. I'm like, bruh, American kids.
I found my cheat code for the activities, but I'm not telling you because of the way people voted. You don't deserve to know.
Don't tell them, please. There might be some
Nope.
Trump supporters listening.
That they are not getting.
But yeah, just life in general. And then just random things like, why are mattresses so expensive? That was one that I'm like, bruh.
Listen, that's true. My first mattress cost so... I don't think I was expecting it, but I got to my bed for free, so maybe I rationalized in that the bed was cheap. But I did not expect it to cost as much as it did.
Yeah. That car tires, like, why are tires so expensive?
I thought about that the other day. I literally thought about that the other day because I was like, it's been a while since I bought tires. Just like I don't have $1,000 right now.
That's the minimum. That's the minimum that you're paying. And depending on the type of car that you have, that $1,000 might not even get you 2 tires, to be honest.
Well, thankfully, I don't drive my car anymore, so I might not be needing tires for a while.
But yeah, those are some of like the random thing. And then like rugs. Have you ever tried to buy an area rug? Like a nice one. Those things are not cheap. I'm like, you know what? I'm about to be walking on bare floor because this shit doesn't make any sense.
I said it's just everything. Medication. I think I took for granted how much medication costs growing up because I had a lot of family. Like my father is a physician, and then even when I came here for college, a lot of my father's siblings are in healthcare. When I hear the cost of some people's monthly prescriptions, I'm just like, is being alive really worth it?
Listen, I'll unsubscribe from the experience if it's that much, you know? It don't make no sense. Anyway, we're talking about black tax today, and we had shared this in our story, and somebody like actually DM'd me because they didn't know what it was. I guess I kind of assumed that people would know, but black tax is a term, and I'm just reading here Google's AI definition. It's a term used to describe financial support that Black professionals and other higher income earners provide to their family. So it can include money given to parents, siblings, other relatives, housing people, paying for health expenses. And the way I was explaining it to my friend in the DM was like, this is not just like gifts, right? Black tax is we're not talking about gifts or one-off support, like somebody will come to you like, oh, I have this emergency. No, it's like consistent support that other people are relying on you for, right? It's part of your budget, basically. And black tax, according to the sources, the term was formed in South Africa, but of course it applies here in the US. But specifically, it also applies to immigrants, Black and non-Black immigrants who are sending financial support back to their home countries, right? Because typically, and depending on where you're living, like for us, people who leave Cameroon and come to the US or Europe, where there's better financial opportunity, you're supporting family and or friends back home. So it's that kind of scenario. So that is also considered a form of black tax. Anything to add to that definition? I feel like we covered it.
Pretty much. It covers immigrants, and also in this country, a lot of black people pay black tax based on the history of the country.
Mm-hmm. So the reason we wanted to have this conversation, well, we've talked about it before, right? In other episodes, but not too much in depth. There was a video on TikTok by Elsa Majimbo, who is a comedian and an internet star. She really rose to fame in 2020, that COVID time when TikTok was blowing up. And she, of course, has, like I said, risen to fame. She has been in Forbes 30 under 30. I think she's only 23 years old. So she's one of these internet stars who really blew up and found so many other opportunities. I think she models and does other things now apart from comedy. So she made a video talking about how growing up, she watched her dad pay black tax, support extended family members and relatives. And she swore to herself, even before she came into the wealth that she has now, she swore to herself that she would not continue that legacy, right, that her father was doing. And in the video, she speaks very disparagingly about, the people that her father was supporting. She calls them lazy, saying that, they basically don't want to work. That's why they're hungry. That's why their kids are hungry. And then she gave the example of one of these extended family members who her dad had been supporting, who now came to her, Elsa, to ask for money. And she said she refused the person, and she said, quote unquote, "You're too lazy to be alive," which, the video was quite polarizing because I did not see the original video first. I saw somebody making a response to the video. So I thought it would be a really good kickoff for our discussion. And I sent you the video. So what were your initial reactions when you watched it?
I was really biased because of the messenger.
Mm-hmm.
But she's not wrong in there tends to be some entitlement sometimes, right? From people who the benefactors. I always say that we talk about children and how children are expensive. And in Cameroon, there are a lot of people who have children. When you ask them, they're like, bikina for bonam. But it's like you know that this person has family members who are helping them out already with the existing children, and then you're bringing more. You're telling me that picking up for bonus. So I can see, it could have been expressed better, but she was not wrong. She's not completely wrong.
Well, so the reactions to the video, I think, I don't know what percent it was, but there were definitely polarizing reactions, right? Because like I said, I saw a reaction video that somebody made about her, basically saying, this is a very elitist take. And she had already done things in the past that had kind of pissed off her fellow Kenyans. Yeah, and other Africans. So there was already this sentiment that, she's out of touch. She has lost touch if she ever had it, because she's not actually a rags to riches star.
He's the richest to
She,
riches.
yeah, she's just from one level of riches to ultra
The-
riches, right? She's not a rags to riches star. So she had received some criticism, I think, when Kenyan students and young people were protesting the increased taxes. Was it
yeah.
taxes that they
Yeah,
increased?
it was
Yeah.
taxes.
And she either said something disparaging or she was completely silent and did not come out in support of the protesters who were being, arrested and brutalized. And so from that point, some people were just kind of, yeah. And this video certainly did not help that perception of her. So I kind of, again, I've looked at the reaction videos and then the comments of her own video. And yeah, some people were basically saying like, wow, if I ever get wealthy, please let me maintain my humility. God, don't ever let me be like this. So again, is that perception that she's not humble. And then other people express a sentiment that I share. They were like, I've benefited from black tax. The people in the comments were saying that, and I have, me. So I would pay it forward if I had the opportunity, right? So that was one sentiment. And then other people were like, yeah, you're completely right, Elsa. Like, people are entitled and people take it too far. So I don't, there's no right or wrong answer, but to your point, she could have expressed herself better, because seeking help and being reliant on somebody else for help does not mean that you're lazy.
No, coming from the society that we live in, right? I use the analogy sometimes of me and people I've encountered in my life, be it classmates, schoolmates, where by all accounts we had the same set of circumstances. But the one thing, and it could be, let's say the one little thing, is I came to the US and the person stayed in Cameroon. I had access to opportunities that this person did not have access to. It doesn't make them lazy. They could be hard on their luck right now. They've been trying ever since we got out of school and they just have not caught a break. But I don't believe that it's because they're lazy. Are there people who become entitled to your success and think that you owe them or whatever? And the irony of it is, far too often, the people who are entitled and are constantly reaching out but don't do anything are the people who have never done anything for you, by and large. The people who were there for you, constantly in. I have aunties, people I relate, not even direct relatives, but like aunties who grew up in the house. And I feel like I don't do a good enough job checking in on them and, inquiring about. But those are the aunties who, every time somebody is coming back here from Cameroon, they will always find a way to send something small, just a little thing. And so it's like, is that if I were to pay black tax, or like, those are people that I would willingly, if they needed help, or if I had the extra, or when I do have the extra, I would gladly pay black tax for that, because they've always been there for me. Like, we grew up in a communal society where we were raised by villages, and sometimes it was not even blood relatives. And there are a lot of people who played a role in our success today. It is what it is. The system is what it is. And yeah, in looking at it that way. But there are also extreme stories of, people who move here maybe for school. They're working an on-campus job that barely pays, but they have families in Cameroon or in different countries that are heavily dependent on anything they can send back. And so they're not even successful. They're still trying to make ends meet, but at the same time, they can't rest or cannot take a break, because they know that their mouths to feed. They're people whose livelihood depends on them.
And something I also saw in the comment section of her video was people saying that, oh yes, growing up I watched my parents like overextend themselves, inconvenience themselves, like gave actually what they could not afford to give to help other people. And I've heard people say things like that, particularly about women, about their mothers and their grandmothers, like going above and beyond where they don't even have, and kind of not accomplishing their own financial goals because they're helping another person. So I guess as a child, if you saw that, then it will kind of
tint
leave
your
that
experience.
taste. Yeah, leave that taste in your mouth. Like, okay, I'm not going to continue this generational curse if that's the way you see it, right? But yeah, I mean, I get both sides, but she just framed it in a very unempathetic and out of touch. And she tried to clarify in the comments by saying some But
Mm.
you could have thought about it before you made the video.
And especially the part about saying lazy. I was listening to a podcast this morning, and it was two immigrant girls, so they're both first generation Americans, who talked about losing a parent when they were younger, and they acknowledge the fact that they are beneficiaries of black tax. Somebody else, there were times when their family was struggling and somebody else or the community came together to push them forward. Today they recognize that they are their parents' 401ks, like where other
Mm.
people's parents have 401ks and retirement plans, like nah, their parents sacrificed their dreams, made a lot of sacrifices to make sure that they could elevate or propel their children. And so now, while people are paying, some people pay it forward, but they also have to pay it backwards. And they will gladly do it because they watch their parents struggle. And to them, it's like one of the perks of making it is being able to help those who supported them on their journey.
Yeah, completely agree. So, what are the impacts of black tax, right? We can look at both sides. There's a Forbes article that's talking specifically about Black Americans, but how, having this financial responsibility, it impacts the individual's ability to grow their own wealth and also,
Mm-hmm.
in turn, build generational wealth, which we already know that for generational wealth, there's a huge gap because, with the history of slavery, Jim Crow, and all of this, Black people are not starting off on the same footing as white people. And then you add this, it's definitely not shrinking the gap.
Yep.
So, yeah, that article was really interesting because it made another good point, which is that the person, whether it's one individual or more in the family who is successful, right, and assisting other people financially, they are often put in a position to make financial decisions that they may not actually be qualified to make, right? To make decisions about real estate, about maybe selling family homes or to not sell or those kind of things. And because you are a higher earner and you're financially supporting other people, they're coming to you for financial advice, where the fact that you have money or more money than somebody does not mean that you're qualified to give them financial advice, which I think is a really good point that people don't actually consider a lot of the time.
Yeah, and then the stress of it. Sometimes if you have a lot of opinions, but nobody's actually doing the work. Did you watch Soul Food, the movie or the series?
Yeah, the movie, but it's been so long.
So, for just let me a little reference, Soul Food tells the story of four sisters, right? The Joseph sisters, right after their mom passes away, and like you said, there's Terry, who's a lawyer. She's a high income earner, and everybody looks to her for everything. She's the person supporting everybody's dreams and aspirations in the family. Somehow they made her look like the bad person. But every now and again, she has to put her foot down. Like, her sisters did not want them to sell their parents' house because sentimental reasons. We grew up here, we had Sunday dinners. But she's the one paying for the upkeep. She's paying the taxes. She's paying for everything, where she could have been investing this money. But somehow in the series back then, it looked like Terry was the bad guy because she wanted to sell the family home. But she's being pragmatic because if she doesn't sell the house, it falls on her, nobody else. Nobody, like literally, they're like, oh, but you pay for it now, we'll pay you back. They never do. They never do. And you become the bad person. And then it's four sisters, so it's one against three. Think about also the toll the stress takes on you, because then maybe you could second guess yourself. Am I making the right choice? Where in other people who are not paying black tax, the money they're earning, they can invest, it's making more money. Their parents invested and they left something for them. Where you, if you don't fight tooth and nail, you might end up, hopefully, you even have enough to like buy a home and invest in other things. But you have immigrant families where they're here, but every time they're buying something, they're thinking about what they're going to send to Cameroon. All year, they're going through every flea market, every garage sale, so they can buy things to put on a container and send to Cameroon, where sometimes people don't even care. That's another part of black tax that is really painful, because you see people, the sweat and blood, right? You know what your hourly pay is. what it took for you to buy this thing for somebody, and then you give it to them and they throw it away, they sell it. We talked about people building houses.
Yes. But when we've talked about this before too, right? What responsibility do the immigrants have to really paint a realistic picture for the people back home? Because depending on the exposure of the person, back at home, whether it's Cameroon or some other country, some people have this belief that, that person has gone to America and
they're
there's a
blown.
lot of milk
They
and honey.
have blown. There's money. Anything you ask for, they can get it. I don't know in America. I remember telling the first time I went to Cameroon, I was telling one of my aunts like, this America ain't all that is cracked up to be. And this was the good America. This was 2000 it was fairly good. It was 2008 America. And she looked at me with such disbelief. There are people who say, I want to see for myself. And then you get here and like fresh out the boat, you got like 1 week to adjust, and it's like, you need to get a job. You might have to take the bus in winter. There's snow. Somebody has given you, I think every now and again, you need to call. Somebody made a video one day, like years ago on WhatsApp, where he went outside and said, you see this snow? Before I go to work, I have to clean it off my car. So next time, it's like, do you see how many layers I have on? Do you know what it takes for me to go to work? Next time, before you want to call me and ask for money, tell me how I'm doing. Check the weather. And I think that's also, right, paint a realistic picture, because you also have bushfallers who go to Cameroon. For our audience members who are not familiar, bushfallers, we disagree on the definition of bushfallers. But for the purpose of this conversation, bushfaller is somebody who has left Cameroon and gone primarily to Europe or America or Canada. And you have people, bushfallers, they work hard all year. They're sleeping. They don't even have a bed. The mattress is on the floor. They are working double shifts all year to go and pepper people in Cameroon. And then they go to Cameroon, somebody might have shipped a car. So they're like stunting living. And people think that that's how they live. They don't paint a realistic picture of what it took for them to come and do this nonsense they'll do for 3 weeks and then come back and do, cycle continues for the rest of the year.
True, but also, I mean, people have to understand that when we're going home, we're on vacation. So the way I behave when I'm on vacation, that's not the way I behave during my normal, like, when you go home to Limbe, like, you want to, okay, I want to go to the beach. I saw this restaurant driving by. I want to go and eat there.
No,
there are certain things that you're doing.
Average. No, that's average. I'm talking about the ones who ship a car. They
Okay,
want to
that's
go to a club.
excessive.
They want to go to a club. They're buying bottles for everybody. But I'm saying between you and I, we know that they've been working double, like double, triple shifts all year to be able, like, if they were just working regular hours, they will go try the restaurants. They will go to the beach, but they won't be buying bottles every day at the club.
I mean, but that's, for them, that's part of their vacation, right? Like, doing all of that stuff.
You skip the part that there was no bed, the mattress was on the floor. Don't skip that part. That's relevant. Because then they take that life. I'm just jumping into things. Because they go from there, and then one unfortunate girl who saw them living like that.
Hey.
Things that she has found her own bushfaller. Then now they'll marry and come to America, and they're telling you that, okay, you have to go and chap, sign up either for nursing school or actually but just some of these things, the reality and what's on the ground doesn't match to that experience.
Let's not talk about the men who go and drop babies there and then come back. The men who go and plant seeds and then come back to America.
So I'm just, it's vacation, but some people go out of their way to portray an image of success, which is not the reality.
Yeah, but I mean, to be honest, and I think we mentioned this before in this podcast, we do it in this country too. There's that keeping up with the Joneses thing. They just carry it when they go to Cameroon, and it's just magnified because of the exchange rates. It's that kind of, it's December, I have to, they have to know that I came. Please go and sit in your mother's house, eat her food, and relax. What's wrong with
Listen,
you? But yeah, so there's responsibility on both sides, right? The people in Cameroon have to make an effort to understand what it takes, and the migrants have to paint a realistic picture for their loved ones back home. And you made a really good point about, like, there are people who, to your point, if somebody's coming to visit, like, even if it's chin chin, coconut sweet, something like that they know that I like, they'll send it. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And that's like touching because you thought about me.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Or when you
You,
go home to Cameroon, they'll make sure they package something for you to take back, you
yeah.
know? Yeah. So, yeah, those people, definitely, I don't mind
And
if they were ever to ask for support.
honestly, I think even if we were to take a poll, those people who do that, who always show up with a gift or something, those are not the entitled people. It's
No.
the people who have never one kobo, you have never seen 1 franc from them. It's always the one that, you know, that my child just passed common entrance now. Where it's usually those people. Like, I was in boarding school for 7 years. Did you ever send me 1 cup of Gary to school? Just 1 cup of Gary, nothing. It's always those people.
Yeah. I wonder if we did a survey, like those problematic people, if they're more on the father's side. I'll be willing to bet that there's something with the father's side of the family that needs to
Always.
be studied.
I mean, I have a brother, and I'm really working hard now so I don't become the father's.
Please break that generational curse.
I'm really trying my best. I don't want to be the father's side. But yo, I actually showed my uncle once when the last time he was here. I showed him because it's my uncle from my father's side. I said, why is it always the father's family that is the problem? And both of us,
Always.
both of us,
Always.
we both laughed. A friend of mine recently lost his dad, and he posted a meme that way you have been waiting, waiting to stand up for your mom, and your father dies, so you are ready for his
Bruh.
family. And I said, but why is it always the father's side?
It's always the father side that's so problematic. They're always the ones with the drama. Like, it's some kind of, I don't know, they need to study that phenomenon and explain it to us. Anyway, so we've talked about the impact on, the person giving the support or the person paying the black tax, quote unquote, right? Reduce your ability to build individual and generational wealth. And then I'm trying to think from an immigrant's perspective. I mean, it would probably be the same thing. Like you
It's about the
said,
same thing.
yeah, students, I'm trying to think like students who are working part-time and you could probably take fewer classes than,
Then
you
your
would
grades
have.
grades will probably suffer, right? You're working to send money, but then you're working at night, probably going to school. You're tired. And when do you study in all of that?
You also cannot do extracurriculars
What is
because
that?
you gotta work.
What is that? No, this podcast I was listening to today, she talked about, like, in 2008, her mom was a realtor during the financial crisis. Her parents, they pretty much lost everything. So her mother took a job. They were in New England. Her mother took a job in Louisiana at a refinery, was working 70 hours a week. Her
Yeah.
father took a job as a truck driver in Utah or something. And she was in high school, her last year of high school. And she said she had gone to 6 high schools at that point. They're
Yeah.
moving around because things were hard, and they didn't want to take her out. So they left her sister, and it's like they could foreclose this house at any time, so just be ready. And this is a high school kid. She was working 2 jobs in high school. And, unfortunately, like, her parents did all of that to be able to help. Like, she went to college. Like, even in college, she was still struggling. She said her junior year, she thought she was going to have to drop out. And finally, she went to her dean or something to say, oh no, she talked to somebody, and the dean asked to see her. And the dean was like, how much do you owe? And then one day the financial office called to say she had no balance. Somebody had paid it. I think the dean paid, and was like, just paid forward. And her family was relieved, and but then her dad died, like, not too long after that. So, like, from the point when her parents left to go work and try to figure things out, her family never really got back together until her father passed away.
Yeah.
And it's like, even in high school, she said she would take food from the cafeteria so that she could eat later on when she went home. Her parents were not there, and sometimes they would turn off the power or the lights. And this was a teenager dealing with that. So it takes a toll on everybody.
Agree. But on the other hand, the people who are benefiting, right? Like, let's speak specifically for in the immigrant community. So money is being sent out of, USA, Europe, back to Cameroon and other similar countries. And I was trying to find the dollar amount for Cameroon specifically. The source that I found, I couldn't really validate. But I found a source for Kenya reported by the Central Bank of Kenya. So it's about $400 million in remittances per month. And that is based on data from remittance service providers. So that's just official channels. That's not accounting for any unofficial channels.
Not Jangis.
Exactly. So that's a significant, contribution to the economy. And it's the same with Cameroon. Again, I don't have the dollar amount, but remittances that people send back home, it's impactful.
It's high. It is. I had to look it up. There are countries, and I feel like Cameroon might be one of them, where the remittance is almost as much as the GDP.
I wouldn't be surprised.
I mean, and if you think about how long their entire business is built on this, right? Western Union, MoneyGram, now we have the apps, War Remits, and all these Sendwave, all these apps that people use. But it's all based on this premise of people sending money, and they're profitable. I mean, Western Union made a lot of money back in the day before MoneyGram came into it, and it was like a flat $10 fee. I don't know if World Remit charges money, because they haven't charged me in years.
I think they make money off of the exchange rate. Because my sisters and I were talking about it. We're like, yeah, they don't charge us. How do they make money? It has to be what do they call that thing?
Conversions?
They're making money in the arbitrage, in the exchange rate, what they're selling versus what they're charging you. It has to be. But yeah, so it's a significant, impact on the economy, right? And then, of course, the individual person that's receiving the funds, people's children's tuition are reliant entirely on relatives, overseas. Hospital bills. I was telling my sister this the other day. She thought I was lying, that there are hospitals in Cameroon where if you don't pay the bill, they lock you inside the hospital. They don't discharge you. They don't let you leave.
I can see that.
It was a thing. I think the Minister of Health even had to make a decree saying that, they couldn't be doing that or something. There were places where they were doing that. They were basically imprisoning the patients if they could not pay
they will not treat
fees.
you until you pay.
Yes, we've seen that. The most scandalous was that woman. Was she pregnant with twins? One of those hospitals in Douala, and somebody attempted a C-section. That was the most insane shit that I've ever seen in my life. I think it was her sister or somebody who attempted to give her a C-section out on the ground outside the hospital. And yeah, they would not admit her, which is insane. That's an emergency situation. There's something very wrong with our healthcare system in Cameroon, but let's not get into that. But yeah, people's healthcare, people who are on, consistent medication, are being supported by relatives. I already talked about, children's tuition, rent payments, university fees, so many things. Even businesses, that need capital. Some of the capital is coming from overseas. So it's a huge impact.
Yeah, even here, right? We talk about migrant workers in America. A lot of them are living in shared rooms. They're working long hours, and half of the money is going back to their home countries. Half. Almost everything is going back, because some of them have left families behind, whatever else, they're supporting families back home. And so it's the same situation also with them, where they rely on, what they call those places, Envoy de Dinero, all of the little stores in Fiesta. Fiesta does, yeah.
And then also when you were talking about this, I African migrants who go to the Middle East, Dubai, and such
Dubai.
places where they are treated. I mean, it's modern day slavery. They take your passport. I think
Yeah.
Asian migrants also experience the same thing, like people from the Philippines and
Filipino.
other countries. These employers take their passports and they're basically, being held hostage in a way. But those people are going there because a lot of that, whatever little money they're earning, they're sending it back home. Yeah. So it's a huge impact. And then I think with the Anglophone crisis, I wish we could see the numbers.
Yes. And that's what, so like you said, somebody asked you what black tax. My friend asked this morning. And I kept saying, I wish we had somebody talk about it because I know that a lot of people are paying black tax currently. People here and people in Cameroon, because we have people that are displaced. We used to say that every Anglophone household in Douala has to have a displaced, they're helping out displaced family members, neighbors, or somebody. And that's part of like the black tax, right? Because everybody, your home now, you have to make space for, and then that in your feeding budget and your electricity usage and some of that stuff. So it's something that in Cameroon, I think a lot of people can't speak to. Maybe we didn't do a good job explaining what black tax was. And so hopefully after this episode, people will reach out to share their experience with black tax. But with the crisis, it definitely has to be affecting Anglophone families here
Definitely.
and in Cameroon.
And you know what I just thought of? Like another variation of that specifically for immigrants is when somebody comes, right? Somebody from Cameroon or elsewhere comes and you're the immigrant that has been here for a while and, they live with you. And for a while you're supporting them or even assisting them in coming here and supporting them for a time until they can get on their feet. Yeah, that's also black tax. So again, to the audience, we kind of put, an invitation out on Instagram. We couldn't get anybody on short notice. But if, you have opinions on this or you're interested in just further discussion this season, well, we only have 2 episodes of this season, so probably next season. If you're interested, slide into our DMs to let us know. And again, it's not like coming to talk shit or to complain. Like I said, I've been the beneficiary of black tax, so just wanting to hear different perspectives,
your perspectives, yeah,
experiences. If you're happy, if you're grateful, if you have any, that Forbes article was talking about, well, again, they were talking about specifically for Black Americans, like how to set boundaries. I don't know how to set boundaries when, people are asking you for money. But I think that's very difficult if you know that your support is really what is
going to make a difference. Yeah.
If you're paying somebody's housing, like how are you setting a boundary with that? What can you do? I get it if it's something that's discretionary, like, oh, can I borrow money to start a business or something like, okay, then you can set the boundary. But if it's like you're paying for somebody's medication, somebody's child's tuition, rent, what kind of boundary can you set? The person, I don't know.
I feel like part of it is not overextending yourself. I joked the other day recently where I said, I don't know why people look at their children as an investment because that's sunk cost. There's no... It is.
It's true.
I don't think that you can look at your children as an investment because it could go either way. There's no guarantee that what you put in is what you're going to get out. I feel like you're lucky if you get something out. Hey, good for you. But I don't think that you're doing it with the intention that they will take care of you or they will do. And I think that goes for every human being. So if you're helping immediate family, direct family, nuclear family, extended family, it's like, hey, okay, I'm paying it forward or something, but not because I expect that one day roles will be reversed and this person is going to show up for me, because I think that that's when disappointment kicks in.
Definitely. I mean, children are an investment in your joy and happiness, I hope.
No? What do you mean in your joy? Have you met a pubescent teenager?
I'm sure there are glimpses of joyful moments here and there.
Yeah, but you cannot rely on them. It will fail you the way election failed John Frunze. I'm just saying. Like, nah, leave them peoples alone. Support them, help them. You're not molding them. Nah, they're their own people. You're just trying to guide them to get to the best version of themselves, but they're human beings with their own personalities. So you never know what you're getting. You cannot hinge anything on them. So yeah, they are not an investment. They are
Right.
not.
That's why I always laugh when people want to attack child-free women. Who is going to take care of you when you're older? You're going to be in the nursing home alone. You think? Are you sure that your child is going to take care of you?
Especially if you have boys only. This toxic ass boy moms, but let me not digress.
Listen, so
Because
sorry to you.
Those are the first ones to abandon you people.
So definitely, audience, yeah, if you're somebody who would want to discuss, if you're somebody who has sent money to build a house and did not build a house, I would really
start a business.
Yes. If you send money to start a business and the business never materialized for one reason or another.
Please let me tell you when somebody was working in Europe. They said he was scamming, but let's just say he was working. He sent a BMW to Cameroon that he was supposed to use in December. His brother used it for his piggery business.
Not them using a BMW as a tractor.
Guess what's in pigs inside?
Was it an X5? What kind of BMW, please? I need to know details.
Was that X5? It wasn't an X5. It was like, I don't know. You know the ones that look like the spaceship, kind of like the Mercedes spaceship coupe ones? Like, I have it in my head. It looks kind of like, you know what, the hatchback. Yes, kind of thing. Can you imagine, Shrine? You're going to Cameroon in December. You're going to show them. Sure.
Cannot. But, I mean, in the brother's defense, why should they leave the car idle? He's generating income with the car, please.
How do you wash this? I can still smell my grandmother, my great-grandmother's pigsty. How do you wash that smell out of your car?
It can be done. I mean, I'm sure it was behind the leather seats now, though. They'll treat it. That is hilarious. But people really do that. People ship cars just to go and stunt.
And they will sell it after they finish something to recoup some of their money now.
That is... Sorry, there's an Amber Alert that's buzzing on my phone. I cannot
You people are
with
always
these people.
kidnapping people in your states.
Yeah. Texas Amber
The plane-
Alert.
Every time the plane lands in Texas, the whole plane.
And then you look at the location of the Amber Alert. It's like in Plano. Like, what do you want me to do about it in Houston?
Y'all stay kidnapping children. I even learned silver alerts. What's the one for middle age? Because I feel like there's silver alert for older, 65 and up. There's amber alert. And there's even one for middle-aged people.
Bruh.
Every time I've come to Texas in the last couple of years, as soon as we land, as soon as the plane lands and people start turning on their phones, it's almost like tornado warning, but Amber Alert edition.
There was one like a few weeks ago. I swear that thing woke up everybody in the whole of Texas, like 4 a.m. It was somebody on the run. He was being pursued by police. They're like, consider him armed and dangerous. At 4 in the morning, I'm like, what would you like me to do with this information?
If somebody saw him while at 4 now, I'm just...
Anyway, the season's almost over.
I know.
We have 2 more episodes. The next one will be our book of the month, which is Arrow of God by Chinua Achebe. So if you have not picked that up, if you want to read along with us, pick it up. Okay. I didn't put a new proverb for the end of this week, but we'll repeat the one from last week. So take it away.
I want to say it the same way. You think you just fell out of a coconut tree? You gotta laugh.
You gotta laugh in between.
You exist in the context of all in which you live and what came before you. And it applies here, right? Because a lot of us were raised in communities and they poured into us, and so we exist in the context of everything that they did for us, and I think we owe it to them and to society to pay it forward.
I agree. Yeah, I definitely agree that, like we said, there are people who, push it and are entitled, but in general, you cannot just take that, find your success and then think like, again, it
It
just came out
applies
of
to
nowhere.
elections too.
Anyway, yeah, we're entering
I'm just saying, it applies to elections too. Like, we're voting for communities, not individuals, you know. They said the
True.
leader of the uncommitted movement was on TV asking President Biden to do something. Y'all won. I need to put that Future meme. Was it Future? No, it was Offset. When Cardi broke up with
When she broke up with him, was it
for cheating.
how many time?
The first time, the very first time. And he said, y'all won. As if we were cheating with him.
What really won this time? Not only did she divorcing you, she cheated on you while she was pregnant. It was sweet revenge.
They're not divorcing nothing. They ain't going nowhere.
You don't think so?
No.
She
Too
cannot
toxic.
do all that. And Cardi, please
Too
stand on
toxic
business.
people. She ain't standing up. I love Cardi, but on this particular one, they've tied her in the big compound. She needs to go to DR. She needs to go to DR and do something because Santeria, they've tied her in the big compound.
She's Puerto Rican. She's not Dominican.
No, she said that one of her parents is Dominican. It's not American because she said she's the daughter of immigrants. Puerto Ricans are not immigrants.
I mean, I think they could be considered. Maybe she's
Anna?
Puerto Rican and Dominican.
I know her parents are two things. They're separate places.
Yeah,
Let's see.
it's gotta be Dominican Republic and Puerto Rico.
El Cali.
What does it say?
Her father is Dominican. Her mother is Trinidadian.
Okay, maybe she's Nikki's cousin. Anyway,
You want to send that woman into a spiral?
thank you for hanging with us until the end of our tangent. See you next time.